In a recent social media post, we mentioned how in this season it's all but a given that you have experienced pruning. And pruning is never fun. No one enjoys it. But remember, the purpose of pruning, that what would remain has real strength in it, that God is going to produce new life from it. But we also understand that if we don't communicate, those around us can interpret it with a sense of setback, a sense of failure. So we understand the importance of communicating, and today we're going to look at what should we communicate. What to emphasize? Do we focus on vision, or should we focus on values? So today we're looking at the difference between vision and values. Now, first off, please understand, we need to have a sense of vision. People need to have that sense of who we are and where we're going. No matter what your organization is, ministry, business, irrelevant. People need to have a sense of, and we're going to come back to identity, but also vision. Where are we going? Where do we think we're going? The challenge becomes we tend to use, in this situation, overuse vision. It becomes our go-to because it can create that sense of excitement temporarily. It can create the illusion of momentum. But remember, the challenge with vision is it's only self-replicating in a very limited manner. Now, previously, we had looked at DNA and why the identity of your organization, if done correctly, it becomes self-replicating. Meaning with very minimal input, it maintains itself. And more importantly, new people coming into the group, whether it's a business, whatever, new people coming into the group will automatically assimilate that identity and begin to reproduce it in their lives. It will produce life. And we'll come back to that thought more. But you can go into the search function and find DNA. We did a couple of episodes, and this is a great time to do a follow-up. So vision is important, but it does create the illusion of momentum more often than true momentum. And remember, part of the challenge with vision is it is only in a limited way self-replicating. Now, you can get people excited about it, but only a small core can maintain that excitement. And so we also did an episode some time back on the difference between buying the vision and carrying the vision. See, when we are bringing vision, people can be excited about it, which creates that sense of momentum. But only a small core really has the ability to carry that vision. So we can wind up in a situation where we think we're making more progress than we really are. We can create that sense of excitement. So let's talk about values. Now, values are a little more intangible, and we'll come back in a moment to which values to choose. But when we take the time, and it does take a bit more time to reestablish or to establish values, those become part of our DNA. And every organization has a DNA to a weaker or stronger degree. And rarely is that DNA something we've chosen. More often it is a natural outflowing of the personality of a strong leader. But this is our opportunity to really establish our identity, establish our DNA, and do it by establishing values. Now, here's the advantage to establishing values. First off, values, when firmly entrenched, they are absolutely self-replicating. They become what I call DNA. They require only minimal input to maintain them. People can readily identify with them. As I said, new people into the group, no matter what kind of group it is, will begin to assimilate those traits and replicate them. It becomes something that you don't even need to communicate truly, and it absolutely produces life. Now, one thing to notice is, again, it does take more time to establish values, for that to gain traction and begin to build its own momentum. But once it does, you're building on strength. And here's what I have found. Get with your key leaders, focus on what is the absolute core quality you want displayed. What's the value you want displayed in your group, in your organization, in your church, your business, whatever it may be. In a business, it might be customer service. And in your ministry, whatever it may be. But here's what I have found. Choose a value that has a degree of self-sacrifice involved. Now, it takes a bit longer to get that value well established. But what I have found is this. Once that value, that quality, that identity is well established, it leads to so much more. See, there's a tendency, especially when we've gone through pruning, for us to want to create an environment where people are happy. We want to, I know this is going to be a little touchy for some, but we want to entertain them. Because we don't want to lose them. I remember years ago, a very close friend who's since passed, that in a time of pruning, there became this sense that to lose one more just seemed so overwhelming. But we want to be very careful not to fall into that trap of trying to just entertain, trying to keep people happy, just to maintain the numbers. And this is the time to focus on those qualities, that identity that will come out the other side not only stronger, but produce new life. Now, coming back to this idea of get with your core leaders and find that trait, that quality, that value that you feel most identifies with your organization or should identify with your organization, and especially if it has a degree of sacrifice involved. Because what you'll find is, in the end, rather than going the entertaining route, establishing a quality that requires a degree of sacrifice for the participants actually winds up building a stronger organization. Number one. Number two, also what you will find is it makes it easier for people to grow in other areas. Now, this is especially important in ministries. Once they have assimilated and taken on that quality that requires some degree of self-sacrifice, it makes it easier for them to mature in other areas. When we entertain them, what we find is we're not causing them to truly mature. We may be giving them lots of great information, but until they're living it out, it has no real value. Now, and I also want to leave on one last thought, and that's a term called confirmation bias. And this is critically important in seasons like this. Confirmation bias is the idea that we will automatically discount information that either we disagree with or that we really don't want to hear, that is negative from our sense. So we will discount that and we will cling to thoughts, feelings, information, whatever that would seem to reinforce what we want. Now, why is this important? Confirmation bias, especially at a time like this, can cause us to look at our identity, our values, etc., and maybe feel like we're doing better than we really are. And I'll give you a great example. Now, I can't mention a name. Large retail organization prides themselves on their customer service. And if you were to ask right now their executives, they would talk about how amazing their customer service is. But the reality is they're actually living in the past. And why? Because with COVID, with lockdown, they have required, and this is a large multi-billion-dollar retail organization, they have required their employees to wear masks. The idea is make the customers feel comfortable. That makes sense. But the challenge is, see, the side effect has been is that the employees, because they wear masks, now communicate less. So what's happened is, over an extended period of time, they're communicating less and less and less with the customers. And the customers are feeling increasingly disconnected. So while the organization would still identify themselves as being a group that has amazing customer service, the reality is the average customer no longer feels that way. Now, they may feel safe because all the employees are wearing masks, but they don't feel like they're getting great customer service. They no longer feel connected to the organization. There's a prime example of confirmation bias. So we want to be careful not to just look at the past and say, we have this amazing value established. We have that, whatever. We need to take the time to critically look at what do we have as strengths. Remember, the idea behind pruning is God is not coming in to destroy everything. What's left has real strength, but we also want to take the time to really look at it and determine what are the traits that really have come out of this, that have been firmly established, but what are the values that maybe we were stronger at before? What are the things we want to refocus at? Now, and again, we do want to share vision. People need to have the sense of who we are and where we're going. But this is the time to really take hold and make sure that those correct values that really represent who you are as a group, more importantly, the ones that will produce new life, make sure those are firmly established. Take this time, rather than looking for excitement, take this time to make sure those values are deeply rooted. And in doing so, you will produce amazing new life.